Shwmae a chroeso I Sgwrs, podlediad Consortiwm Canolbarth y De. Yn y podlediad hwn byddwch chi'n clywed y trafodaethau diweddara am bob math o bethau addysg. Hello and welcome to Sgwrs, the Central South Consortium podcast. In this podcast we'll bring you the very latest discussions on all things education.
Hello and welcome to Sgwrs, the podcast series from CSC. My name is Ben Partridge and I'm the Enhanced Digital Learning Lead Practitioner for Secondary. In this episode, we are going to discuss implementing the DCF in the curriculum for Wales in a secondary setting. I'll be joined by Richard Hopkins, the Lead Practitioner for Teaching and Learning, to discuss steps they are taking to develop the DCF provision in line with the curriculum for Wales, increase collaboration and share best practice in their setting. Rich, thank you for joining me. Could you tell us a little bit more about what your role of Lead Practitioner for Teaching and Learning entails?
Yes, so I work very closely with senior management on the leadership of the teaching and learning throughout the school. So we look at teacher development through programs like the Outstanding Teacher Program. I facilitate that. And I'm also involved with coaching within the school and also the digital side as well, being an Apple Distinguished Educator and us being an Apple Distinguished School.
Before we discuss your work with the DCF, could you just give us a brief overview of where Cyres is in terms of its adoption of the curriculum for Wales?
Yes, so this is something that we've all been working on for a long time now, for the last couple of years, and preparing ourselves to roll out in September 2023. So we've done lots of work within our inset days and within our department and within our AOLE meetings to develop the curriculum and look at the different strands and what we need to do to implement this curriculum. We've had a full restructure of the school and the AOLEs have been put into their 6 different areas as well.
Now, turning to your success with digital learning, in its 2020 inspection report, Estin commented on the effective use of digital technologies to enrich both teaching and learning and the wide range of valuable opportunities for pupils to develop their digital skills across the curriculum. What do you attribute this success to?
When you think of St. Cyres School, especially over the last, I can't believe it's 8 years now, 2014 we had a new build here, and part of that new build was to think about the future and think about education, how we're going to teach for the future. Do we have to equip this school with the resources to teach for now, or is it teaching for the next 60 years? So that was the vision. So we looked at using one-to-one technology. So we're very lucky here that all of our students have their own iPad when they join us, and they take these iPads through and they get refreshed every 3 to 4 years. So we always have the latest technology with access to the latest apps, and which has been fantastic. We also have the freedom as teachers to try new apps and whatever works best for our classrooms. Having this one-to-one technology, this is something we've been doing since 2014. So when Estin came 2020, we've had kind of 6 years of the use of the technology in the school. And this is everything from, collaborating together using things like Google Docs to, using, like I said, the, innovative and industry standing apps that would then stand them in good stead for going into industry and into their future careers.
Looking forward to the curriculum for Wales, what impact do you see it having on delivery of the digital competency framework? So will there be greater collaboration across subjects for being in AOLEs, more freedom or creativity, or more opportunities to share best practice? By
having the OLEs, it's given everyone an opportunity to kind of come together more, especially if we think of, say, expressive arts. I'm working really closely with the drama teacher now as a music teacher, but also I'm working really closely with, the art department as well. And we're looking at how all of these things connect. So by using the technology, this has given us the opportunity, I suppose, to collaborate. You can collaborate on using apps such as your Google Docs, your Google Slides. Google Drive is amazing for, setting up kind of workspaces, that type of thing. So yeah, I think having this come together as an AOLE has given this opportunity for the new curriculum so that we can all work closely together and make sure that we get the best of our students.
So we've just spoken about the significant changes St. Cyres is undergoing in preparation for the rollout of the curriculum for Wales. Can you tell us a little bit more about how St. Cyres aims to develop how it delivers the DCF in line with the curriculum for Wales?
We have a digital innovations group, so we meet regularly every half term, and it's a group of like-minded people who are really passionate about moving the technology forward. I like to call it Geek Club, but it's a real opportunity to look, at the latest apps and especially, things that maybe we wouldn't think of. By getting together and having, a rep from each AOLE, we get to see how other AOLEs are using these apps and how we could maybe use them for our AOLEs and subject areas. We're also an Apple Distinguished School, so the Apple Teacher Program is something that we encourage that all of our staff complete. This would then equip them with the right skills for using the technology within the school. We have 3 ADEs, which stands for Apple Distinguished Educators as well, myself being one of them. We try our best to forge a path for the way that technology is used at St. Cyres School. So with the Digital Innovations Group, this is part of one of our kind of whole school meeting groups here. We have things like a research and development group as well, and we also have a teaching and learning forum, and all these things kind of tie nicely together. So the Digital Innovations Group will get together, and then this will feed nicely into, say, the same themes as what's been discussed in our Teaching and Learning Forum. We've created a Teaching and Learning newsletter that goes out to all staff, which features things like a podcast, a learner view, which is like an interview with a student, how they use the technology, I suppose, and also their teaching and learning within the classroom. But having this opportunity, having a digital newsletter to go out, all staff are then able to communicate and kind of have an update really and learn new things from that, hopefully, that they can then use themselves in the classroom.
I hear you mention pupil voice, and I know you've done a lot of work around pupil voice and digital learning. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Digital Leaders Programme?
We have a Student Digital Leaders Programme, which is the opportunity for our students to get together and again discuss apps that they use in the classroom and also give us feedback on what works. And sometimes I think we feel as teachers that we need to deliver this and this will work for them, but this opportunity for the students to get together and also, not only them discuss within themselves, but also feedback to teachers and what they'd like to see in the classroom. Sometimes I find myself learning lots of things from them too.
I find that is something very empowering as a classroom teacher, is when you give over that agency and that control and admit to the students that actually you are no expert and this is something that maybe they can bring to the table. I find the engagement goes through the roof and that they feel really empowered and involved in their own learning. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it is a two-way process. And the great thing about the technology is they're taking these iPads home with them and they're using these apps at home. They're finding these new apps out at home and but being able to discover that and then bringing it back in to the classroom and bringing it from the outside world in, you find some real golden nuggets from the students. So having the Digital Leaders Group get together, they really, like you said, about being empowered, and they really love the responsibility. So their role will not only be about just the apps, it's also how do they support their peers and how can they help within the classroom as well as a role model.
You've explained a little bit about collaboration between pupils and staff, but how do you facilitate collaboration between staff either within ALEs or whole school to share best learning practice?
You have the Teaching and Learning Forum, which is used for teaching and learning techniques and us getting together and sharing the good practice that way. But with the technology, the great thing about it is we have Apple technology here, but mainly our main kind of software infrastructure is Google. We have unlimited storage on Google Drive, and we also have Google Classroom, which we use as well. So using things like Google Drive, we're able to set up digital areas that can be completely shared and edited and accessed by everyone here in St. Cyres School. They can access all the resources that are being created and collaborate that way. And also using things like Google Docs and Google Slides, the collaboration features on there are unbelievable and very powerful, in the fact that gone are the days where you need to use a USB stick and you have multiple versions of the same thing. We can all kind of work on the same document and update that document and make notes and see history of what's been updated and who's updated it. And then this goes back into the classroom, because then when it comes to subjects, I suppose if I give an example like photography, we create digital portfolios. So then we're able as teachers to be constantly marking that in live, and the students are able to make their adjustments live. And there's not, oh, I'm sorry, sir, my dog ate my homework. There's no excuse. You can't, my dog ate my Google Drive. I don't think that one's going to work.
Thank you for that description of the culture of collaboration within St. Cyres, Rich. Without putting you on the spot too much, could you think of some examples of teaching and learning that has been shared during the Digital Innovators showcases from AOLEs addressing the different strands of the DCF?
Yeah, so when we think of the different strands, such as, you've got your citizenship, you're collaborating, you're interacting and collaborating, you're producing, your data and computational thinking. When we think about this, I think we're hitting all of them, to be honest. Things such as, your digital rights and, especially the culture we live in, I think, where we're creating videos a lot now. We have to be aware of the rights and copyright and licensing, I suppose, and ownership. Ensure that we credit those people who have created the work, or even being aware of what we can and we can't use, and also thinking about our footprint of when we're creating and how do we license our work, how do we so that's very important, I think. When we come down to online behavior as well across the school, we have DACU sessions every morning, which stands for the Daily Act of Collective Worship. This is a whole school approach. We talk about, your online behaviour, and we try to make sure the students are aware of how to behave appropriately online. Things like cyberbullying, and making sure that the students know where to go if they feel they are being cyberbullied. And I think it's all about just making sure that the students are aware of their online profile is the same as their face-to-face profile as well. So what they're doing online should reflect how they are in real life, even though they might be, locked away of an evening, typing away on a keyboard with their front door locked, and they're sat next to their parents, having a cup of tea and watching Coronation Street in that lovely comfort zone. They need to understand if what they're writing or what they're typing or what's going on, maybe on a social media or out there on the internet. They need to be aware of how that could impact their life in their real world. And I think that's really important there. Then we come on to things like, if we look at the interaction and collaborating side of things and communication. Well, I've mentioned earlier about how we collaborate through, say, Google Docs or through sharing of files through Google Drive. And it's just something we do now. We're able to, work on the same documents. We're able to use Google Classroom and submit homework and work from it wherever you are with an internet connection around the world, really, And then as a teacher, if you're at home, obviously, you got to think about your workload, but if you're at home with an evening marking and a student comment will pop up maybe on Google Classroom, or you'll receive an email, 10 seconds of you giving an answer back would allow them to have maybe another hour or so of working. When we look at producing, we are a very creative school. And this is, again, I think this is just because of the way we've been working since 2014 and thinking about, the use of the technology in the classrooms, our digital innovations group, our digital leaders, student groups. But it is a very creative school, and we have the tools to be creative, and using the Apple apps, things like Keynote, things like Pages. Concepts apps is being used a lot, which is graphic design app where the students, even are all getting their Apple pencils and they're able to create and draw. In music, we are making music, using the same packages, the same applications as Billie Eilish has got a Grammy Award winning album. She did in a bedroom using the same thing. So it's, giving these real life examples as with these people who've been so successful, and we're bringing that back straight down into the classroom where the students are able to be aspirational as well and be able to think, I could be like Billie Eilish and I'm doing the same thing as them. So yeah, we are very, very lucky here at St. Cyres School, having the technology to be able to kind of mark and feedback, and we're able to use the camera to give audio, video feedback. Then we're able to kind of use the technology to create forms and access data, and then be able to use that information to inform where we are and where we're going, and that will inform our teaching and only improve.
Thank you, Rich, for that snapshot into some of the ways St. Cyres is addressing the various standards of the DCF, but also bringing authentic context to our learners. Finally, I'm playing devil's advocate for a second. The examples you've just shared are from the context of an Apple Distinguished School where pupils have one-to-one access with devices. What would you say to someone wanting to replicate this success in a different context, maybe using a shared bank of iPads, Chromebooks, or other devices?
Even if every student in your school doesn't have an iPad, there are still, great things that you can do around this. If you have a bank of iPads, there's plenty of things you can do where you could involve those in one of your lessons. If you have iPads, there's out-of-the-box apps that I've spoken about, like GarageBand. It's not as if you need to then go and purchase a lot of creative apps and the things that we're doing. These are all free apps that come with the iPad. And there's also access through Hub, through to the Google set of apps, and things like the Adobe suite. We have access through Hub to use apps like Adobe Photoshop, which is, industry standard. All magazines would use it, and to give that opportunity to your students. So whether you use Windows or you do use Apple, it's greatly reduced cost as well. So it makes it affordable for you to use within your students. And then when we think about how the AOLEs work and how it's all meant to be about collaboration, it's all meant about sharing ideas from different subject areas and then bringing them together so that we can get the best results and that we get the best outcomes from our students. So from a whole school culture of wanting to progress and use what technology you can implement in your lessons to be creative, and also having that freedom, to try things out, because this is, I think, is part of the success we've had here and how we've developed here, taking those risks and really trying things out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you've tried. That way doesn't work. What happens is you find a new way to do something, and then that will give someone maybe in another AOLE an idea of how that would develop in their area. by having that attitude and having that culture within your school to just try things out and collaborate together and give it a go, you'll be really surprised of what can come from it.
That's really interesting how you've talked about the culture in St. Cyres and how more so than the device, it's about that collaboration and creative risk-taking to drive the teaching and learning forward with the digital learning. I'd like to thank Rich for his time today, taking us through his work at implementing the DCF in the curriculum for Wales in a secondary setting in St. Cyres. I hope you found this discussion useful. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Cheers.
Diolch am wrando ar y benod hon o Sgwrs. Cofiwch ein dilyn ar Twitter a Facebook, tanysgrifio ein sianel YouTube, ymuno yn cymunedau ar ein gwefan a darllen ein bwletin ysgolion wythnosol am y newyddion diweddaraf. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sgwrs. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our online communities via our website, and read our weekly school bulletin for the latest news. Hwyl am y tro. Bye for now.